I had my life stolen by my twin sister, but what she didn't know was that I had actually stolen hers first. She'd caught the eye of a mafia boss, yet she already had a boyfriend she loved deeply. So, on the day Damien came to pick her up, she knocked me, her identical twin, unconscious, and pushed me toward Damien. After that, she vanished abroad with her boyfriend, never to be heard from again. I was forced to marry Damien, and I never once gave him a good look. For his part, he only saw me as a substitute, showering me with sweet words when he was in a good mood, and slapping me across the face when he wasn't. 10 years later, Chloe suddenly returned. She found Damien and lied, claiming I'd pushed her into a river, causing her to lose her memory, all just to steal her chance to marry into a wealthy family, making her miss out on the 10 years she was supposed to spend with Damien. Damien flew into a rage and immediately ordered me to be locked in the basement. Taking advantage of the situation, Chloe visited me under the pretense of checking on me, then cruelly wrapped an iron chain around my neck. I'm sorry, sister, but as long as you're alive, my lie will be exposed sooner or later. She strangled me to death. In the moment I took my last breath, my eyes widened, filled with deep-seated hatred. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day Chloe was first chosen by Damien. This time, I stepped forward voluntarily. Chloe, go with your boyfriend. I'll marry Damien in your place. In this life, the mafia boss's true love had to be me. Mom, Dad, save me. I don't want to marry Damien. Chloe's cries were right beside me. I snapped back to my senses, shocked to realize I'd really been reborn. Mom and Dad, Damien is a ruthless killer. Everyone says he's tortured several women to death already. If I marry him, it'll be like walking into my own funeral. Besides, I already swore to Liam that I'd only marry him in this life. If I can't be with Liam, I'd rather die. Mom wiped away her tears, her voice trembling. But honey, we can't afford to offend Damien. If you don't marry him, our whole family will be killed by him. Dad wiped the corners of his eyes, blaming himself. It's all my fault for being useless. I can't even protect my own daughter. At worst, let them beat me to death. Once someone dies, they'll have to hold back, right? Are you crazy? That's Damien, the mafia boss. Your life means nothing to him. Chloe screamed. Before Chloe could finish, I stepped forward and spoke. Chloe, go with your boyfriend. I'll marry Damien in your place. The whole family stared at me in shock, especially Chloe, whose eyes nearly popped out of her head. Chloe and I are twins. We look exactly alike. If I marry Damien in her stead, he'll never find out, I said. Mom hesitated. I'm relieved that you're willing to go in your sister's place, but Damien is so shrewd. Can we really hide this from him forever? What if he finds out someday? Will he let us off the hook? Dad made up his mind and said to Chloe, Chloe, you'd better leave first. I'll give you the $50,000 I've saved over the years. You and Liam go to Australia. Damien's influence shouldn't reach that far yet. Mom and Dad paid no attention at all to the fact that I was about to marry into Damien's family. Their eyes were only on their precious eldest daughter, Chloe. As for me, their younger daughter, I'd always been the one meant to be sacrificed. Chloe lowered her head and thought for a long time before speaking. Mom and Dad, why don't we hold a funeral for Ava? Just say she accidentally fell into a river and drowned. That way, if someone suddenly goes missing from our family, it won't seem too strange. Once they agreed, they immediately packed my things and stuffed me into the car Damien's family had sent. In my past life, I'd woken up in this very car, filled with fear, and had remained hostile toward Damien even after marrying him. Our 10-year marriage had been filled with resentment from start to finish. But to be honest, setting aside all the rumors, Damien was handsome and charming, wealthy and powerful, and extremely protective of those he cared about. Marrying someone like him actually gave me a strong backer and sense of security. When Damien saw me, the first thing he said was, I have only one request for you, be obedient. I immediately took his hand and said softly, darling, don't worry, I'll definitely be obedient. If you tell me to go east, I'll never go west. Damien froze for a moment, then signaled to his assistant, bring over everything prepared for my wife. As my wife, she shouldn't be dressed so plainly. And just like that, all kinds of high-end luxury goods were continuously delivered to me. Diamond watches alone filled an entire cabinet. During the day, while Damien handled his business, I stayed at home experimenting with new recipes to make him delicious meals. From 3 meals a day to post-meal desserts, I took care of every detail myself. In the evening, I transformed into a gentle little cat, spoiling Damien so much that he was always in a great mood. Gradually, Damien's attitude toward me grew less cold. He even started taking me to various public events. One day, Mom suddenly called and asked me to go home, saying Dad was seriously ill. But as soon as I walked in, I saw Dad slouching on the sofa, picking his teeth, with a cleanly gnawed pork bone in front of him. Dad, you're not sick? If I hadn't told your mom to say that, would you have come back? Dad snapped. Mom reached out and sharply poked my temple, scolding me, you ungrateful daughter. Living a good life at Damien's house, and you've already forgotten about your parents, isn't that right? Mom, I remember the day I married into Damien's family. You texted me saying that from that day on, whether my life was good or bad had nothing to do with the Jiang family. You told me not to contact you anymore, and that you didn't care if I lived or died. You said those words, didn't you? I still have that text saved. Mom glared at me, being unreasonable. Why are you so cold-hearted? Your dad and I only said that because we were afraid of getting you involved. Now that you're doing well, you want to abandon your family, is that it? Didn't Damien give you money? I've heard he gives you a huge allowance every month. And this big villa, didn't Damien buy that for you too? Isn't all this enough? What more do you want? Mom grew angrier as she spoke, adding, have you forgotten you still have a sister? Mom, watch your words. A sister? I don't have a sister. My only sister drowned a long time ago, have you forgotten? I deliberately brought up the funeral we'd held back then. Stop playing dumb with me. This is our home, so I'll just say it straight. Give your sister 100 million yuan, and we'll never bother you again, Mom said through gritted teeth. 100 million yuan? Where would I get that much money? I exclaimed in shock. Dad also shouted at me excitedly, Damien has tens of billions in assets. We're only asking for 100 million. What's the big deal? If you can't even get that much, are you even worthy of being Damien's wife? I let out a cold laugh. I don't have the money, and whether I'm Damien's wife or not is none of your business to decide. We parted on bad terms. A month later, Mom called again. Ava, baby, I wasn't thinking straight before. I'm sorry, do you have time this weekend? Mom made your favorite dishes. Come home for a meal. In the 2 years since I'd married Damien, this was the first time Mom had taken the initiative to invite me home for dinner. Before I could answer, I heard Mom crying on the other end of the line. Ava, Mom is getting old, and your dad and I aren't in good health. Every time we mother and daughter get to see each other might be the last. In the end, my heart softened. Okay, I'll come back this weekend. When I went home that weekend, Mom was extremely warm to me, pulling me into the house. The dining table was already filled with a whole table of food, all my favorites. But as soon as I sat down at the table, someone walked out of the bedroom. This part ends here. Want to know more? Follow to get the updates.